There's a particular kind of ache that settles in when you realize that the bonds you believed were forged in steel were in fact made of paper. It's the sting of misplaced loyalty, the quiet disappointment when competence is swapped for entitlement, and the hard-won wisdom that comes from seeing through a facade. Today's story comes from a listener, a man who learned this lesson in the sharpest way possible about 25 years ago. He's recounted an experience that fundamentally reshaped his understanding of relationships and the value of genuine connection. Let's dive into his account. I'd just moved to a new town and found myself drawn into the orbit of a family whose children were attending the same college I was. The son was my age and in my classes. The daughter was a couple of years older. We spent a good amount of time together, the three of us, and sometimes with our respective friend groups. I was happy to help out around the house, fixing things, lending a hand with chores. The parents, warm and effusive, would often say, "He's like a son to us." My own parents were far away, so this felt like a genuine lifeline, a second family I'd stumbled into. Looking back though, the invitations were always for my labor, not my company. I'd be there setting up for their gatherings, but rarely invited to attend them, unless it was specifically a kids' party where the children themselves extended an invitation. The family's own children and their friends would be present at the other events, but I, the unofficial help, was conspicuously absent. Hindsight, as they say, is 20/20. Then came the wedding. The older daughter was engaged, and I was suddenly thrust into the role of unofficial wedding planner. I was handling a significant amount of the setup and organization, even though they had an actual wedding planner. She used me as her gopher, all the while telling me how well I knew the family. The parents, too, continued their pleasantries, reinforcing the idea that I was like a second son. I'd spent considerable time and effort selecting 3 thoughtful, expensive gifts for the bride. On the day of the wedding, I did a final walkthrough and noticed the seating arrangements. There was a large table designated for family, filled with cousins and other relatives. I wasn't on it. Before the ceremony, I approached the parents, mentioning my absence from the family table. The mother, with a rather cheeky smile, informed me, "Darling, that's for close family only." My seat, I discovered, was far removed from the main events. I won't lie, a fire ignited within me at that moment. So for my considerable efforts, my time, my genuine care, what was my payment? A place at the kids' table. After finishing my meal, I saw an opportunity. The gift area was unattended. I walked over, took my gifts, and then on impulse took 2 others that I knew were among the most expensive. This, I reasoned, was fair compensation for being treated as an expendable resource. Without a word, I left the reception. Fortunately for me, there were no cameras back then. Yes, it was technically theft, but the sense of hurt and betrayal was overwhelming. They called later, expressing surprise at my departure, mentioning they needed help. I offered a brief, insincere apology, citing a prior engagement. They sounded displeased. They continued to reach out for more help over time, but I always politely declined, offering no explanation. At one point, they commented on my suddenly flourishing social life. I retorted, "Yes, sometimes when you let go of certain relationships, you open yourself up to new ones." While I wasn't always busy or social, it certainly beat being the unpaid laborer for a family that saw me as little more than a handyman. Fast forward 4 years. The daughter, now divorced, suggested coffee. She remarked how we'd lost touch. I agreed. She then mentioned how her parents and she, along with her brother, missed having me around. I couldn't resist a jab. "Sure, you miss your handyman." She protested, insisting I meant more. I reiterated, "Handyman, serviceman, you name it." She pressed on. No, you were like a brother to me, a son to them." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "No, dear, I am not your brother. If you propositioned me for sex today, I'd say sure. Your brother wouldn't." She flushed, stammering. I continued, "True family treats you like family when it truly matters. You did not." I placed $20 on the table for the coffee and left, wishing her a good day. I never heard from that family again. Good riddance. Now, if you've ever found yourself in a situation where your loyalty was exploited or your efforts were taken for granted, share your experience in the comments below. It's a common thread, isn't it? Subscribe for more stories like this, and I'll see you in the next one.